for us to come to America, my dad actually accepted a fellowship at K-State, which meant he had to leave the entire family for, I don't know, it was a very extended period amount of time. It felt like forever.
Yeah.
As an 8-year-old boy. And then he came back and he's like, all right, we're moving. But then I got to leave you guys again. And so those are the two things that I remember. Very sad feelings, obviously. And so for my dad to be gone for a long time, you know, as an 8-year-old boy, your dad is everything, you know? And so obviously I missed him. And so we finally, you know, we're gearing up, ready to go to the United States of America, which is something that every Filipino dreams of. And the one thing that I just remember was seeing my dad at the airport after not seeing him for that long period of time, and just like giving him a hug. And that's just like one of the happiest moments of my life. To add on to that, we went to Disneyland the very next day. And I'm like, this is America? This is fantastic.
Welcome to From Home to Here, where we dive deep into the compelling stories of immigrants and children of immigrants to shift the narrative and break the silence barrier. I'm Komal, your podcast host, and together we'll explore the journeys that shape and define us. Today, our guest is Zaldy Doyungan. He is the head of creative media and a public speaker for Strategic Wealth Designers. He migrated to the United States when he was 8 years old via Manhattan, Kansas. His family then moved to Iowa and then eventually graduated high school in Texas before Zaldy moved back to Manhattan to attend Kansas State University. 13 years after arriving to the States, Zaldy and his family received their citizenship in 2013. After graduating, Zaldy spent some time as a TV sports personality in Northeast Kansas before venturing out west to California to pursue film and acting. Working as a professional videographer as well as an on-camera persona led to his job now as a public speaker and creative media head for a top producing financial advisory firm in the country. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, of course. Well, I want to start off by you just sharing something that a lot of people don't know about your journey when they look at you.
Yeah, so when people meet me for the first time and they hear me talk and they hear, I don't know, just get my vibe, it's always often a surprise that they find out that I'm actually not born here and that I was born in a completely different country, at least here in Kansas, because I don't know, what's either not having an accent or the vernacular that I'm using. I just seem more American than I am an immigrant, per se. But then it's funny because then when I moved to Los Angeles, there's a lot more Asians, right? And a lot of those Asians are either first generation, second generation, or they came straight from their country. And then they ask me where I'm from. And I'm like, I'm from Kansas. And they're like, wait, what? And it's always kind of a shock for them because they just don't expect someone like me who talks like me in LA to be from Kansas. So I don't know. People think I'm more American than I am Filipino these days, and I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, that's basically it.
I think it's a common assumption. I feel like when you, not you specifically, but just when you maybe like look ethnic presenting and then you speak English so fluently, it's like, oh, but like I've known you, like you're not immigrant, like you're from here, and it's like, well, not technically.
No, it's not, and that's why I'm here to tell the story, just because there's a complete other side that a lot of people just don't know about me, because I just don't really get a chance to talk about it that much.
So speaking of your story, what do you remember about moving to the United States at the bright age of 8?
Well, when you're 8, that was what, 25 years ago? Jeez, all right, I'm old. Golly. Well, I don't remember too much, to be quite honest, because I mean I was 8.
Right.
But I do want to answer this question by asking you a question, because it kind of follows up. From your life to where you're at today, do you remember the happiest day of your life? Have you ever thought about the happiest day of your life?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And no, I haven't thought about the happiest day of my life.
Okay. Well,
actually,
okay.
Now that you say that, I do know of the happiest day of my life. But I've never thought about it.
Okay, can you explain?
Yeah. It was the day my parents got their green cards, actually.
I love that.
And I I don't, it was 2013. I don't remember much from 2013. I don't even know how old, like, what, I was 6 or 7. And so there's not much I remember from that age, but my mom school went out at 2:21 every day,
Okay.
specifically 2:21.
Yeah.
And my mom would walk from our apartment to my elementary school to come pick us up. And she was walking and she would always check the mail before she left the house, or whenever we got there, she would check the mail. And so she had mail in her hand, and she's on the phone, and she's never on the phone when she comes picks us up from school. Like, she was very intentional of like, this is my time with my kids.
Yeah.
And so we would ask us about our day, what we want to eat when we get home. She's on the phone, she's crying. And I walk out of school and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why is my mom crying? What's going on? And all I see is this letter in her hand, and she's on the phone with my grandparents in India, and it's like midnight there. And my grandparents go to bed at like 7 p.m. there, and they wake up at like 5 for farming. And so she is on the phone, and I'm just like, what happened? Like, why is she on the phone with my grandparents like that? Like, what happened? And I was worried something bad happened. And she was just telling me to be quiet. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. And she's crying. And then she hands me the letters. And I see it. And I was just like, there's no way. And I look at her. I was like, does this mean we're going to India? And she's just like, yeah. And she's on the phone. And I'm like, oh my God. Because my entire childhood, it was the only relationship I had with my grandparents or my family in India, which was majority of my family, was through a telephone conversation. And like, FaceTime wasn't really a thing. And so it was just like that we had always talked about this day, and not much happened. And I feel like that day changed a lot for my family. So.
That's adorable. I love that. So my story is kind of very similar.
Yeah.
So I often think about this. So like the top 3 happiest moments of my life is number 3 is the first time I ever went to a music festival. Just going. Number 2 was when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl for the first time, obviously. And then the number 1, and I love telling the story because I'll kind of add some context to lead up to it. So for us to come to America, my dad actually accepted a fellowship at K-State, which meant he had to leave the entire family for, I don't know, it was a very extended period amount of time. It felt like forever.
Yeah.
As an 8-year-old boy. And then he came back and he's like, all right, we're moving. But then I got to leave you guys again. And so those are the 2 things that I remember. Very sad feelings, obviously. And so for my dad to be gone for a long time, you know, as an 8-year-old boy, your dad is everything, you know? And so obviously I missed him. And so we finally, you know, we're gearing up, ready to go to the United States of America, which is something that every Filipino dreams of. And the one thing that I just remember was seeing my dad at the airport after not seeing him for that long period of time, and just like giving him a hug. And that's just like one of the happiest moments of my life. To add on to that, we went to Disneyland the very next day. And I'm like, this is America? This is fantastic. So that was my very first impression of America, was coming, seeing my dad, and then going to Disneyland. And then we went to Manhattan, Kansas. I'm like, oh, this is a lot different than Los Angeles. A little bit.
That's how I feel like that was my experience when I moved to Kansas City. Dotsie Downey too. I thought the world was New York City. I thought the world was like New York. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Literally, why would it not be?
I mean, that is kind of the center of everything.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
And so I was 12 when we moved here, turning 13.
Yeah.
We never really traveled outside of New York besides to India. So the world in my view was New York City and India. And we moved to Kansas, and this was the old MCI.
Yeah, I forget about that, right?
And my mom and I flew in. My dad and my brother are not with us. They're driving. My aunt and my cousin come pick us up, who I've met maybe like 2 other times in my life. And we're going to stay at their house. And I'm excited to meet new family. But I remember driving, and I'm like trying to look out the window to be like, oh my, like.
There's nothing.
There's literally nothing.
No.
The entire way we get to Johnson County, and I'm looking out, and there's nothing. And I still remember that day. And then when I saw my dad too, I feel like a lot of relationship with the immigrant dads, I feel like they can go either way. But many of us have really good relationships with them. And I remember seeing my dad, and I was just like, okay, like, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Was there like some sort of culture shock? Because how old were you when you moved to Kansas?
12,
Okay.
turning 13, yeah.
What was the biggest culture shock you think for you?
Just the amount of like Caucasian Americans, and that just is not the case in New York. Like it just
No.
was not the case. And maybe in Manhattan now, but where I grew up in Queens, this was not the case. And everyone spoke a different language. ESL was a very normal thing to be available in school buildings. Every single language was represented or it felt like every language represented in ESL. And a lot of kids looked like me, and our parents couldn't communicate verbally, but could communicate, you know? And so then coming here, and it was just like, everybody, like, this is like,
Yeah.
like you guys got ties that go like way back generations and generations, and everyone's talking about like, oh, like my great-great-grandfather like used to live in this specific plot of land, and it's just like I don't even know where my great-great-grandfather lived. And so it was just the amount of just like quote unquote like Americans that had long time roots here, and it was just like I will never be able to relate to that.
Yeah. I get that. But for me, luckily, when my dad went to K-State, he found a little bit of like a Filipino community. So that kind of eased the transition a little bit. And in the school that I went to, it was very close to K-State. So a lot of the kids that went there either had parents that were students at K-State or were professors, or like they were employees of Kansas State. So it was a very diverse school that I was luckily like brought into, but it wasn't until like later parts of my life in which I experienced, oh, okay, it's not all like this.
Yeah. And what were your experiences growing up in those different places? I mean, Manhattan, Texas.
Yeah. So I lived in Manhattan for about 5 years, and I was very comfortable because, like I said, I had a Filipino community, so we had a Filipino circle, but then you get exposed to American lifestyle, right? And then it's just very different than what I grew up in. Luckily, we get taught English in the Philippines. And so it took me a second to kind of get used to the American way of speaking English. But then it wasn't until I moved to Iowa where I was kind of brought into a environment that I just wasn't used to, because super small town. My graduating class was going to be 30, like 30. And I was probably the only Asian guy in the entire
So you had a similar experience.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was the craziest thing, because the very first day, it was 8th grade, middle school, first day of school, I'm being brought in, and all these people are looking at me like I'm a zoo animal. And then they're just like here. And then my teacher, bless her heart, they didn't know how to deal with someone like me. They thought that I didn't know any English. And so my teacher was like, "Hi, Zaldy, my name is blah, blah, blah. How are you doing today?" And at this point, I'm in middle school. I've been in America for, I don't know, 6 years. So I almost didn't have an accent at this point. So I'm like, "I'm good. How are you?" And she was like, "Oh, okay." And so it was very weird. And
Still other.
a little bit. But then, like, you can't really blame them just because they just didn't know what to act like, because they've never had anyone like me.
The exposure.
Exactly. And so it took them a second to be able to get accustomed to me. I think what won them over, which is, I don't know if this is like this in every American childhood, but we played kickball during the first recess in middle school, and I was catching everything. And they're like, "Hi, this kid's pretty good." And so they convinced me to try out for football. And I was still skinny, still barely weighing anything. But then I gave it a try. But then that's just how I got into the inner circles, just playing sports and stuff like that. So that's how I got myself accustomed into that lifestyle. But very first thing was like, I don't know how to act like this, or I don't know how to be like this. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's very understandable. I guess we can transition to then your just when you first came here and just all the different places you've been. What were some of the challenges that your family faced, like as a whole?
Yeah. Okay. So cool. When we moved to Iowa, the reason why we moved to Iowa was because my dad was able to find an employer to sponsor his green card, our family's green card. But my mom didn't want to stop working, and she lived in Manhattan. She worked as a researcher at K-State. And so for 5 years, I believe, 4 years, we lived in a split household. Luckily, in Iowa, it was 4 hours away from Manhattan, so it wasn't too terribly far. But for a very family-oriented culture, like for us to live 4 hours away for 4 years, it's, I mean, it took a toll on my parents for sure. For me, like, I don't know, I just got accustomed to just moving all the time. But for my parents who have been there together for, I don't know, 15 years at this point, it was a little bit hard on them because, I mean, obviously they called each other every night, but it's different to be apart rather than when you're together. So that was a big thing. We went back to Manhattan probably maybe once a month, once every 2 months. It just depended on our schedule. So that was the hardest thing. And then my sister graduated high school from Manhattan High School and then went to the college that my dad taught at, which meant my mom lived by herself. And that was probably hard on my mom too, just because she's not really too social, and so her entire social life was us.
Yeah.
Luckily, she had that Filipino circle that kind of helped things a little bit, but yeah, it was, those 4 years was probably the hardest on them. And then finally, my dad was like, "I'm done with this. I don't want to live separate from your mom anymore." My mom got a job as a professor because that's what she wanted to do, was teach. She got a job at Texas A&M in Corpus Christi, Texas. And then my dad was like, "All right, I want to find a job in the same city." And so my mom for a year lived in Texas by herself for a year while everybody else lived in Iowa. And Texas is a little bit further than Kansas.
Yep.
And so that was a little bit difficult. But then once we all finally moved to Texas, and that's why I graduated from Texas. I was only there for a year.
Gotcha.
Moved my senior year of high school. Yeah. So imagine that kind of lifestyle. So I've kind of been able to just like adapt to where I've gone. That's why I've moved so much. But at the same time, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of challenges that my family went through.
I feel like a lot of immigrant moms have so much resilience that often isn't acknowledged, and
Yeah.
like a lot of sacrifice that they make for their families or for themselves, for their kids especially,
Yeah.
just to make sure that they have a good life, or maybe a life that they didn't necessarily have. Immigrant dads too, but I feel like, just at least from my experience and kind of what you said, there's a lot of sacrifice that they make to
Yeah.
just make ends meet, make our families what they are, and just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when you think about it, even before we moved to the U.S., like, again, my dad was doing his thing out here. And so it's just me, my mom, and my sister all back home. Luckily, lifestyle in the Philippines is a little bit different, where we're able to hire, like, I don't know what you call them, nannies or maids or stuff like that.
It's the same way.
Help, exactly, right? So she had a little bit of help there. But yeah, no, my mom's a real one. So is my dad, honestly. I don't, it's hard for me to explain that to them, how much I appreciate, because we're just not a very lovey-dovey family, you know? But as I've gotten older, I've started to realize all the things that they have done to get to not only where I'm at today, but the entire family. And so I just want to tell them I appreciate them. So yeah, for real, because they've done quite a bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love our relationship with
That's
that, for
awesome.
sure.
It is really hard to vocally be like, thank you for everything.
Yeah.
That's just not really a thing that we do I feel like in our cultures. And I feel like that overlaps a lot of immigrant cultures.
Yeah.
Even with my parents, it's never been like, "Dad, like, I really appreciate you coming here," and like just everything. You just don't say that, almost in a way that it's a universal cultural experience at the same time. Because
Yeah.
for us, it was a lot of Punjabi men were leaving because of the Sikh genocide. And so it's just that
yeah.
all of his friends kind of had the same experience. So it's like, it's not really, to them, it's not really a unique thing they did. But in reality, it's like, no, like that
Yeah.
took a lot for you to leave everything and leave and come here. And I've never to them directly said thank you.
Yeah.
it was just like not something you can really.
I
I'm very internally. Like, I'm so grateful.
yeah.
But it's not something you just vocalize a lot.
And I think if you did say it to them, they might feel a little bit uncomfortable too, just because they're just not used to
It's just like, what do you
receiving that.
do?
Yeah, like that's just my job. Like that's what I was brought on this earth to do, was to make sure you had a great life.
Yeah.
And for me, I've lived a fantastic life. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Guys, appreciate you. I love you.
That's awesome. So kind of going back, so you guys, your dad went to Texas. You kind of moved there. You finished off high school, and then you guys received your citizenship in 2013
Yes.
as a family. So how did that?
It felt so good.
Yeah.
It felt great. Just because it just felt like, all right, we're here for good, I think. And there was times where we were getting ready to move back, probably 2 or 3 years in. My dad was only here for a work visa,
Right.
or actually it was just a visiting visa. And then my mom came here and then got a job at K-State, and my dad's visa was about to expire. And so we already shipped a bunch of stuff back to the Philippines, getting ready to move back. And it wasn't until my mom told her boss at K-State that we were getting ready to move back. And her boss is like, no, you're not. Let me know what I need to do to make sure you guys stay. And so my mom was able to get her visa, which allowed the rest of us to stay. And so having that thought of like, oh, dang, that was it. Like, we're here 3 years and that's it. Like, America's amazing. We want to stay. Having that thought of going back, and I'm not necessarily saying going back was the worst thing in the world. I don't want to say that, but just being exposed to, I don't know, the standard of living
Just like
here.
not like there wasn't stability.
Exactly.
It's like this is
Yeah.
gonna be home for.
Yeah. You just didn't know. And we were thinking about moving to Canada. We were thinking about moving to other. Yeah, right? And well, honestly, I didn't know that until most recently when I was talking to my parents about it. But yeah, and then my mom got a visa. We stayed a little bit longer, and then we found out, like, all right, what do we need to do to get a green card? And then once we got that kind of gave us a little bit of sigh of relief. But it wasn't until we got our citizenship to be like, oh, now we can vote.
Hello.
Now we can work. There's less restrictions on the jobs that we're able to work. We can have an American passport, which means whenever we do go back and come back, we don't have to go through all those loopholes just to be able to go through immigration and just come back here. And then even then, the immigration to the Philippines is pretty easy, I would say. So when I got that citizenship, it just felt like stability, as you said. All right, we're here to stay. This is where we're going to be. This is what we're going to be doing.
Just breathe. Yeah.
Breathe, and we can focus on the rest of our lives without knowing or without having any uncertainty of where we might be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of certainty and focusing on the rest of your life, I want to transition to kind of you finding your purpose and what you do now. So, how did media, performance, storytelling show up in your life? Because I know you said like one of your other happiest moments was going to your first concert,
Music festival.
So,
Yeah.
how did that all come to be?
Performance, I don't know, honestly, because one thing I do remember from my time in the Philippines was I got into this theatrical thing where I was playing a monkey. And the reason why I got into it, I wasn't originally casted into it.
Okay.
This is such a weird thing. It might have been first grade, kindergarten. I don't remember. I was very young. But I remember one thing was I was watching the people acting, rehearsing. And one of them was just he wasn't into it. He wasn't buying into it. So I was telling him, like, you got to act like this, or you got to like do this. And someone else saw me do it. And they're like, why don't you do it? I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then ever since then, I don't know. I don't want to say I stole the show, but I stole the show. I almost choked on the banana too. That's a different story. But I stole the show. I'm just seeing the crowd's reaction to just something I did. I don't know. I just got automatically hooked. So that from a performing standpoint, I just like being in front of people. Storytelling, that came from when I moved to Texas. I didn't have any friends. So I started a YouTube channel. And this was before YouTube was cool.
You're like, let me make it clear.
Yeah, this was like not like what YouTube is now. This was when no one was on YouTube. The type of content that you would see on YouTube was just like user made skits, that type of thing. And so I made a YouTube channel, and it was just me telling stories on that YouTube channel. No one can find the things on that channel anymore because I'm pretty sure I deleted a good amount of it. I'm sure like if you really search you can find it. But that's basically how the storytelling abilities came about, was me just telling stories on YouTube, basically like a podcast pretty much, right? So for like 3 months, because I moved there the end of May and school didn't start till September. So for 3 months, I didn't know what to do. So yeah, I made a YouTube channel. I uploaded once a week. I got like 200 subscribers first from that. But that's how that came about. And then, what was the last one? Oh, media. Well, that kind of interconnected, media and YouTube and that kind of thing. And I've always just wanted to be in video. Once I went to college, I kind of strayed away from that to do college things. But it never left me. I always made videos in college, and then even when I was like a sports anchor, I still made videos, and it kind of just stayed with me throughout my entire life. And that's how I got to where I'm at today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about your time working in sports.
It was fantastic because the time that I did work, so people don't know, I was a sports anchor, sports reporter at a news station in Topeka. And what I did was during the week, I would go out and do sports stories. And then during the weekend, I would be on the anchor desk. And during that time, K-State was really good at, well, K-State was okay at football. They were okay. They were a lot better when I was in college, but they were okay at football. But KU was really good in basketball, as they always are. I do an eye roll just because I went to K-State, Kumon went to KU, so there's a little bit of a rivalry here. But then the Royals won the World Series, and I was able to cover that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So when they won the pennant, I was actually in the locker room when they sprayed champagne. And that's probably one of the coolest memories I've ever had, just because, one, like, how often do you get to do that? And two, man, champagne in your eyes hurt so much. I was so prepared. Everybody had goggles. I'm like, all right, look at these guys. And then next thing I know, I'm getting champagne in my eyes. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it. I get hunter's goggles. It burns. So that was really cool. And that's a really cool experience I got to have because I love sports.
Yeah.
Sports growing up was always a thing because we didn't have cable in my family. And so all I had
We didn't either for like half of my childhood.
Yeah. And so all we had were local channels.
Yeah.
And so whenever they played K-State football games, KU basketball games, and then obviously the Chiefs, that's all I watched.
Yeah.
So big sports guy. But yeah, that was a great life back then.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What was it like transitioning from Kansas to California then? And what were some of the highs and lows of that leap?
Ooh. So
And explain your timing, like California and like
timing wise?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh,
Timing
so
wise.
okay, so graduated K-State 2015 and then moved to California from Topeka at 2017.
this was after your time. Yep.
As a sports anchor. And then lived there for 4 years. Moving to Los Angeles was one of the most eye-opening things that has ever happened to me in my life, because when you live in the Midwest, you just feel so, I don't know, sheltered, to feel, because like there's just so many things out there that you just
like,
don't
there's a
know
big
about.
world. There's like this big world
Yeah,
just in this bubble.
Exactly. And so when I moved there, not only was I able to discover the music that I love now, excuse me, Korean barbecue was all the food that I was exposed to was crazy. And then it felt that I felt like a minority for the longest time in my life. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, completely opposite. Like so many Asians. And it felt like white people were the minority there. And so it did feel a little bit weird for me because for the longest time, I did kind of feel special that I was the only, most of the time in whatever friend group that I was in, I was probably the only Asian guy in that friend group. So a lot of people were culturally curious about that type of stuff. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't feel that anymore. But at the same time, it did feel good to be surrounded by people who looked like me.
And just understand like your culture
Yeah,
and the way you approach things.
exactly. And like when I ate spam in front of people, I didn't get judged. They were like, dude, can I have some? I'm like, yeah, dude, absolutely. Here's some spam and some rice. Here's some eggs. Yeah. I'm still trying to get that back here, by the way. I don't know if you've eaten spam
I
before.
don't know.
Can you? Are you able to eat spam?
What
Ah, that's the bad part. No one knows what's in it. I just know that it tastes good. I know that it's not good for you. So I have it very rarely these days. But when I have it, oh, it's really good. I like to think I'm a spam ambassador. That's what I try to call it myself. But yeah. So the food there was great. Beach, mountains,
Yeah.
all in the same city. Traffic was not fun.
Went back to New York City
Yeah.
in the beginning of 2024 and end of 2024. And I can confidently say I would probably never live there ever again.
Wow.
It
Really?
was just like, well, one, it wasn't the same New York.
Okay.
Like it just this actually kind of speaks to the immigrant experience. Like you leave something, a place. Like
Mhm.
I left New York City. My parents left India, and in my head, when I left New York City in 2017, I expected New York City to be the same when I came back. I expected the same people to be there and people to live in the same spots and like the corner laundromat to still be there and the deli to still be there. And those things were like the spots, some of the spots were there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember like where the hospital I was born at, we lived like 10 minutes away from it, and there was a corner Subway that we would go to all the time, and it was no longer Subway, it was Carvel, an ice cream shop, which like I loved Carvel, but it was like that used to be Subway though. And so like, and then people moved away. It's like we moved away. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But when did you move away? Like,
Yeah.
where did you go? Why did you go? And so that was a huge part of it. It was just like, this is still New York City, but it's not my New York City
Mhm.
that I lived in.
Yeah.
But I experienced my entire childhood, and like people aren't there, things aren't there. And then also it's just like New York City has been overcrowded, but now it was just like,
Yeah.
this place is freaking overcrowded. Like the traffic, it was just like, what? And I drove in the traffic too. Because we drove to New York City,
Yikes.
which was a whole thing with
Yeah.
my family. It was our first ever like family trip.
Okay.
And we drove, and my parents were in Long Island, or we were in Queens, and my brother was in Long Island, and I needed to go pick up my brother or drop off my brother and come back to Queens, and my parents needed to go somewhere to meet somebody. And so I was like, well, you guys go,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll drive to Long Island, but I'll drive back to Queens. And they were like, no, you won't. And I was like, yeah, I will. I was like, I can drive. I've been driving. And I did. And I drove in New York City traffic, and I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like, I can do anything. I literally just maneuvered us from like this long lane of traffic, and I was all the way in the right lane, and I'm all the way in the left lane. Like, I can do this. And I did.
How long did it take you though?
It didn't take me long.
Really? Okay.
Nah. My mom was in the passenger seat at one of the points, and I was like, you just have to act like you know what you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to act like you know
Sure.
where you're going, and then you just have to get there.
That's-
And so it was just like, I know I gotta go there, and you're gonna let me go there.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed the challenge of it. So now every single time, like my friends drive, we go places, we go to cities, it's always like, yeah, como driving in the city.
Wow. So you've been granted that. Okay.
Right, privilege. So
Man, like one thing I love about New York though is the subway system.
Yeah.
Love the subway system, and I'm a big walker. I love walking to things. That's why I like living in downtown, and I work from home, so that helps. So that's great. LA didn't have that. LA has a metro system nowhere near as good as New York's, and so you had to deal with all that traffic. It takes you an hour and a half to go 10 miles.
Yeah.
And it's not fun.
that is
I listened to a lot of podcasts back then. So I get it, but so you say you wouldn't live there again? Ever?
probably not.
Okay.
I think it has more so to do with just community,
I see.
people, than it has to do with. I love New York City. Like it'll always have a special space in my heart.
Yeah.
It is home, but it's our it's not the same community. Like we've just
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be the experience I had in my childhood.
Yeah.
So it's just, and the same way it was for like Punjab back home. Like that's not the way my parents left it. It's not. It's
Yeah.
never gonna be the way they left it, and it's never. They'll never have the same experiences, the same
Yeah.
love. I mean, they'll,
Yeah.
it's just different.
We'd like to visit though.
I would love to visit.
Yeah. It's
Encourage
great.
me at any time.
Yeah. I feel great pizza.
Yes, yes, really good pizza. Yes. So did your experience, in Kansas, in California, how has it influenced your professional life and your professional career?
I think that it's made me able to relate to almost everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully I feels like whenever I meet someone, I like to think I'm easy to talk to.
Yeah.
It's because like I just know who you are, I know what you're about, and I can talk about that. And I'm a generally curious person.
Yeah.
Because then when you live in Manhattan, new town, new country, you learn to adapt. Then you live in Iowa, only brown person there, you learn to adapt. Move to Texas, highly big Latino population, you learn to adapt. Go back to Kansas, all right, I know
what to do.
yeah, it's my home. And then you move to LA, completely different world, you learn to adapt. Move to Denver, kind of different space, you learn to adapt. So I think throughout my time, I just know professionally like how to be able to talk to people to where one, they think they can trust me, they can vibe with me, the rapport is there.
Yeah.
And therefore when you have rapport with people, that can go a long way. And how I got my job today was actually the person that hired me knew me from my time in Kansas, and then we just kept in touch throughout the entire time. And he actually tried to recruit me all throughout the time I was in Los Angeles. But I'm like, I wasn't ready to leave Los Angeles yet. And then COVID hit. Obviously filming, nothing was happening. And so I started doing some work for the company that I'm with now. And then that's how I realized, okay, like if I decide to take this route, my life will go this way. I'll have to move out of LA, but then I know career-wise and professionally, the potential of me growing and climbing up the ladder is a lot higher than if I stayed in Los Angeles. So that's the path I chose.
Awesome. So what is your current role?
Yeah. It's always weird because like when I was a sports anchor and I told that I'm a sports anchor, people knew it right away.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you do.
Yeah.
But now I do so many things that it's hard for me to basically explain it all in the nutshell. So I'm the head of creative media, and then I'm also a public speaker for Strategic Wealth Designers, which is a finance company. And so what I do for them is I do all the media work. So whether it's photo, video, social media, I create content for them. And then that's just half of my job. And then the other half is I'm a public speaker. So we have client events probably 20 times a year, all throughout the country, different cities all throughout the country. So I speak at that. But then the thing that I love doing for my company is every year our company, each member of our company goes to one city, and to kind of help celebrate the year we just had, we have an award show. And so now I'm actually, with the help of some other folks, I help organize that award show. And it's like a big gala. It's called SWAGs. We call it the Strategic Wealth Awards Gala. And we try to make it as fancy as possible. And so being able to organize that, not only organize that, but also to host it.
Yeah.
And not only to host it, I also produce the videos that played. So all the production. So throughout my entire life, all of these skill sets that I've gained all kind of culminate into this one event. So like bringing people together, entertaining them, and then playing videos for them to watch and react to. It's become the thing that I love that I didn't even know I would love until I did it. And like I love doing it, and
Awesome.
I hope that everybody that in the company enjoys that I like doing it and loves what they see and what they experience. Because normally in January, it's like I said, it's like a culmination of the year. So everybody goes to a spot. Vibes are good no matter what. So it's kind of easy on that front. Because this past year, we went to Orlando, which was really cool. We had our event. Yeah, we had our event at Universal, and
Sounds fun.
it just felt like we were kids again. You know, like we went to Universal, we went to Harry Potter World, and then the theme of the award show was like it's called Lights Legacy Action, and so we showcase everyone's childhood photos because that's where your legacy started. And so being able to organize events like that has been
That's
just one of the coolest things in my life. for
That's really cool. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned creativity and finance.
Yeah.
And I will admit, like, you just don't think those two go together.
They don't.
And so how do you make it go together?
That has been one of the most challenging parts of the job that I have right now. And the reason why is when it comes to finance and you're dealing with people's money, there's just a lot of restrictions that you have to go through, a lot of compliance restrictions because you're dealing with people's money, you're dealing with people's life savings sometimes. And as a financial advisory firm, we're a fiduciary, so we have to act in our client's best interest, both morally and legally, honestly, too. And so you have to make sure that whatever you're putting out into the world is valid advice. And in today's social media atmosphere, people can just say whatever they want and people might believe that. And so it's tough to be able to contend with that just because you know what you're doing is right, but just because what someone is saying might not be true, people might believe that one person rather than
Right.
the people actually putting out that content. So creatively, I've tried to figure out a way to maybe make the content digestible, entertaining, but also educational. And so what I did was I find Reddit posts or I find Twitter or I find TikToks where people are talking about financial advice. And then I have financial advisors react to them. And most of the time, a lot of them will react to them thinking like it's going to be bad advice. But then they're like, wow, that was actually like decent advice. And so they're more there to clarify or possibly provide clarity, which is pretty much the same thing, on some of these, reels, some of these TikToks, some of these posts on the people are posting just to make sure that people are not getting bad advice because we want to make sure that everyone gets good advice in their, finances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took this class, you can say co-curricular, it wasn't for credit or anything,
Okay.
called Boundless Creativity. And it was taught by, we call him Professor Josh Wexler. And his name is Josh Wexler. And he has a wide array of things that his background is from, what that Deloitte, I don't even know, like what Splice, like all these like really cool companies. And he kind of like made a 6-week course after Rick Rubin's book called A Creative Way of Being,
Okay.
a Creative Act, something like that. And essentially explaining how creativity is important in every aspect of your life. And I will admit, going into that course, I was just like, creativity is you draw, you can make really cool graphics, you got good skills with painting, and like you can do like just art. I thought creativity was art, but whatever, just art, whatever form that may be in. Except through those 6 weeks, it was very evidently clear that creativity is not just art, and you need it in arguably every aspect of your life. So why, like, that brings to question, why is creativity important for you, not just within your like job, but also just in life? Like,
I think it allows life to be unpredictable because if you get to the same monotonous routine every time, then either you get burnt out or you get bored. And so when you add a little bit of spice, when you add creativity to whatever it is that you do, it kind of, one, challenges you a little bit to think outside the box. It gets you out of your comfort zone. But two, it might provide just a different type of perspective to not only to you, but to whoever might be either consuming your content or whoever you're sharing your story to. Because some people, when they think of something, they just mainly think in the box. And it's not necessarily they want to choose to stay inside that box. They just don't know there's an option that to go outside the box. And so once they hear of somebody doing something a little bit different, then they might start thinking different. They might start thinking, oh, like I didn't know you could do it like that. Why don't that's smart. Work smarter, not harder. And when you're creative, you tend to try to think, okay, how can I make this smarter instead of going through the tedious things to be able to finish this,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And I feel like as a lot of immigrants, children of immigrants, their life can very much so go either way. It's like you either are in that box
Mhm.
or you choose to go outside the box, but sometimes it's a very, very risky choice with
Oh,
migrant
absolutely.
parents.
Oh,
And it's just like, Phil, but trust me, like, this is going to work out. And
Yeah.
like, it's a very interesting dynamic of like the stereotype that immigrant parents want their kids to become a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer. And it's just like, okay, but like, what if I don't do that?
Mhm.
And then I'm still successful, and it's just like you're walking on eggshells. And
Well, you have to think too. When I came to Kansas State after graduating high school, I was a theater major.
oh,
So, oh yeah. So imagine the conversation I had with my parents to not only one, leave home. That was probably one of the hardest conversations I've had ever. And then two, I'm leaving home to be a theater major. When my sister, who again, my parents PhDs, sister PhD, me, I'm creative. Woo. So imagine that type of story. But then, I don't know. For me, like, yeah, I get the worry, but then being able to prove myself to make it, and over and over and over again. Now my parents, like, they trust that, like, all right, he's good. He's
Hey, I'm like in that cycle right now because my brother didn't want to go to college
Yeah.
actually, but then did go to college and became a mechanical engineer. So it was like you literally did everything. You went from doing nothing they wanted you to do to doing everything they wanted you to do. Like you did not help at all. Like they're happy, they're cool. And so then imagine the conversation when it was the same thing of like I mean my parents live in Olathe. I chose to go to KU, but the conversation was I'm gonna be staying at KU,
Mhm.
and then also I'm gonna major in political science. And
Yeah.
it was just like science of what? And I was like, it's not really like that type of science.
Mhm.
It's just like government
Mhm.
and politics. And I was explaining it to them, and they were like, and do what with your life?
Yeah.
And I was like, I like it, like I enjoy it. And they're like, okay, but what are you gonna do?
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's gonna work out. And they're just like, you have a year to just like
Wow, they gave you a deadline?
a deadline, not necessarily deadline, but it was like, we'll support you, but like
Mhm.
reconsider.
Yeah.
Reconsider your life decision.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like honestly the end of my sophomore year where they were like, oh no, like she got a plan.
Yeah.
She good. Like she
Sometimes
know what she doing.
sometimes you just gotta trust your kids, you know, especially when they're passionate about something. Like I'm sure you're very passionate about that space. Maybe for me, it was more that okay, that sense of doubt maybe helped me motivate me a little bit. I don't know if it was like that for you, but
Motivate, and also just like it when you're passionate about something, you want to do it.
Yeah.
Just drive, like you just want to learn more, you want to improve, you want to climb the ladder of just
Yeah.
like I enjoy this. And I think for at least my parents, it was also that those weren't viable career options for them back
yeah,
home, you know. Like
understandably.
studying political science is not really a thing
Mm-hmm.
back in the
No,
day. And
probably
so
not.
like for them, the success was a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. Their success wasn't seen in all these other industries because that wasn't represented
Yeah,
back home.
yeah,
Like it might have been there, but it wasn't what they saw.
Yeah.
They saw the lawyers, the doctors, the engineers, and that's kind of what they wanted their kids to do.
Did you have that mindset or perspective though when you were trying to figure out what your major was going to be, or did you kind of just realize that more recently that they didn't have that option when they grew up?
I think I realized that more recently, and actually it like so my dad's a truck driver and my mom works at Garmin, and so none of them finished college. My mom graduated high school, my dad didn't. And so it's kind of heartbreaking now because I see what my parents would have been had they gone to college. My dad is so insanely creative. Like
Okay.
he for From Home to Here annual event in actually both years. he came into the space and was like, just had a vision of what he wanted it to look like. And I was like, for me, it's just like, I love my dad. And I was like, I love his vision, but we already have a vision. And so like, we're going to have to go with it. It's day of. But it was just a moment of like, dude, like, my dad's freaking creative. Like, he enjoys putting things together. He enjoys the challenge of like art, and he's really good with food, and just always wants to like do fusion things. And it's like, my dad is freaking creative, and he never had the outlet or the space to be that.
Yeah.
Besides like in his own home with food or gardening or like things he's into. And then my mom is like a math wizard, and it's just like, and she enjoys it. It's just like, you can put the hardest math equation out there and it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
And she's so good with money, and it's just like, you see what you're like, the potential of my parents had they had the space and the opportunities, but it just wasn't available for them in like this life path and course. And so, yeah.
It's never too late. You can create your dad a TikTok and just do all the fusion stuff, because you never know.
Yeah. His goal is to get into the food space, and I want to honor that in some way in the future. So
yeah,
we'll see.
That'd be
but
cool.
We do. This is not an open invite to the podcast, but my parents love hosting people. Like, they just like, that's their that's just their thing. And my dad, every single time we host, he's like always getting creative with like, we should do this with this and this, and it's just like, all right now, like, yeah, we can do that.
What's an example of something he puts together dish-wise?
Oh, his favorite thing to put together is lamb and goat, anything lamb and goat related. And so in India, a lot of our like nice meat and naan, if you ever had naan,
I had naan,
is like cooked in a tandoori oven.
Okay.
Or tandoor. And so it's a specific type of oven. It's like a cylinder, and it's outlined with like clay.
Okay.
Clay.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
It's unique. And my dad was so committed in getting one, except they were expensive for the time that he wanted one. And so he made one from scratch in a oil drum that he like vigorously cleaned on the inside, and then lined it with dirt and clay, and it freaking worked. And so he had it for like a year, but he didn't like properly seal it, because it was just like trying it out. But for the year that he added, it was just like, that's freaking cool. And everybody was like, you can't do it. And I was like, no, Dad, like, you got it. He did. And I was like,
that's what's up.
Yeah. So
I tell you, if you made that on TikTok, I would blow up.
You know, kind of onto something. Kind of onto something.
Is your dad does he make the food? Because my dad cooks for my family. I don't know if it's like
my mom.
My mom does.
It's for our like on a day to day.
Yeah.
My dad cooks. It's like a special occasion. Because he just cooks like fancy heavy food that we just like can't really eat on day to day. My mom loves cooking.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you? It's okay. I don't cook either. So
I do like cooking, and I get it from my parents.
Okay.
I love cooking. I just don't have the time.
I got you. Oh yeah, I get it.
Do it.
Especially in college too.
Yeah. I went home for dinner yesterday. And I didn't tell my parents I was coming home. I just went home and I was like, so what's for dinner? And you just always know there's going to be dinner at home.
Yeah.
You just always know. And luckily they had just made something fresh. And so we were all eating together. And I was like, this just like hit. And it was just nothing special. It was just like, it's just homemade.
Yeah. No, I get, especially growing up, eating that food every day. And then when you don't, you start to miss it a lot. Right? And so for me, even right now, and this is a little bit sad, but I'm not ashamed. So whenever I go home, my dad, sweet dude that he is, he freeze dries food so that I can fly with it to take back to Kansas City, so that I always have food in my freezer. And it's just the sweetest thing.
That is really sweet. My mom also cooks for me, and every weekend, not recently, but whenever I ask her, she'll cook for me over the weekend to bring food back to Lawrence.
Okay.
I feel like food is a universal language between just life.
Everyone.
I feel like my dad's, there's a poem that I really like. it talks about how, like, in our culture, women and just girls
Mhm.
back in the day were just seen as burdens.
Yeah.
And so people didn't want to have girls. And m- I didn't have that experience with my father growing up, or my parents in general.
Sure.
And so, and then also, like, our parents don't, my dad doesn't say I love you, or like that you just don't express affection. And in a poem about how, like, my dad always brought me fruit, and
Okay.
that was his way of saying,
Aw.
like, I love you.
Yeah.
It was just like, just the layers of, like, being a girl,
Yeah.
and the fruit is always just like it's just a sign of love, at least in our culture. And so it's one of my favorite balls of just like, I just think food is a universal love language.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
So I want to shift into this theme of identity
Okay.
and belonging. So how does your identity as a Filipino American kind of shape your voice, your storytelling, your leadership, you?
That's kind of tough because honestly, it wasn't until maybe recently, probably the past 2 years, in which I've had a little sense of, I don't know, revelation of how cool it is to be Filipino.
Yeah.
Because to be quite honest, when you grow up, in the American school system, you want to be like every American. And so for the longest time, I was trying to be as American as possible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until really recently I'm like, man, Filipinos are cool. We're some cool people. And I started to dig a little bit deeper to why we are what we are.
Yeah.
And what's cool for me is because people meet me. Here's a little bit of a story to kind of explain that a little bit. So when people come to visit me from out of state, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so let's say there's like a couple visiting me. Like I'll give them my bed. I'll sleep on my couch. And people think that's weird.
I don't
Right?
think
Like,
it's weird.
but like most Americans that come, they're like, no, you're fine. Like, no, because this is literally what we do, as
Yeah.
people. Like whenever me and my family come to visit the Philippines, like they make sure we get the comfortable bed, and they're sleeping on the floor. They're sleeping like under mosquito nets. They're doing all these things to make sure that we're comfortable. And so I just thought I didn't really.
It's a culture shock.
Absolutely, yeah. And so when I tell them, like, yeah, come sleep on my bed, like I'll sleep on the couch. Luckily, I have a comfortable couch. Like I put a mattress topper, so I still sleep fine. But they just think that it's completely like that's weird to do that. And so I'm proud that it's weird to do that because it makes me and it makes our people, I don't know, different in a good way. Other than that, I don't know. Filipinos just tend to be more hospitable. I'm sure other cultures are like that, obviously, as well. And so we always just tend to put everybody else before us. We pride ourselves on serving, but also modesty. Like in the Philippines, and honestly, it took me a second because I went back 2 years ago. Before that, it was 9 years before I went back. Very long time. And obviously, like I'm full American at this point. And so when I went back, Filipinos love karaoke. That's just the way we do. And for me, I was trying to put on a show because I just thought that's what we do. And I got the weirdest reception from it because people thought that I was doing too much. I was being a show off. And then it took me a second to realize, like, oh yeah, like that's what we do. We tend to shine light on others, besides trying to shine a light on ourselves. And so that was a bit of a reality check for me because before then, I like shining light on others, like all the time. I say that I hate the light shining on me, even though I'm a public speaker. I do all this stuff. Like I do it because I like doing it. I don't do it because I want people to notice the things that I do. And so for me, it wasn't until that I realized, okay, let's go back to our roots here. Let's shine light on other people because that's just what we do. So yeah, that's part of my identity is I like talking people up. I like being curious about what they do and what things they're proud of and making them proud of that.
It's like a way of being.
I absolutely, yeah. And I think it's great. More people should be like that, honestly.
So closing reflections.
Okay.
Actually we'll do a rapid fire round and then we'll do closing reflections.
All right.
So What is a skill that you think every immigrant should master?
Small talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I recently just had this conversation.
Yeah.
I think small talk is so important.
I think so too. And I think, again, it's all about building rapport.
Yeah.
And that's how you build rapport, is small talk. And that's what I tell my parents to do, because they're not the best at small talk. And so I tend to try to get them out more, unless they're Filipino. If it's Americans or people they know, strangers, they just stay silent.
Yeah. My personal family.
Exactly, right? And maybe that's just how they grew up. I don't know. But you just learn so many things about people just by just asking questions.
I think small talk makes us more human.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just like, yeah, how is your day going?
Yeah.
Please, how is your day going? And it's just like, I do care how your day is going. And I feel like recently there's been this whole thing of like, networking is so annoying and small talk is so annoying. Like everything is just like on the surface, and it's just like, yeah, it is on the surface, but like maybe that's what makes it a little bit more human, is that
Yeah.
I
think it's harder now too, because everyone has their phones.
Yeah.
And so people just resort to
that.
the whole time. But if people, again, like I got to where I'm at today by small talking people, just building rapport. So that's that's one skill I suggest.
Yeah. What is a piece of advice you live by?
That's a good question. I think it's a quote made famous by Ted Lasso. But I think it was first pronounced by Winston Churchill. Don't quote me on that. It is, be curious, not judgmental. And the reason I say that is because it's just so easy to judge someone by the way they look. Like an American can judge an immigrant by the way they look. They can automatically judge that they don't speak English or they can't relate to them whatsoever. And it's honestly a two-way street, because immigrants, they tend to do the same thing. They meet someone and they'll be like, okay, I can't relate to them, so I won't talk to them. And so that's why I say be curious, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the small talk, is you just learn how someone vibes just by asking questions. And with that vibe, you can be like, all right, do I want to continue to dig deep? Or I'm like, okay, maybe it's not my vibe. We'll just keep it like this. So, yeah.
Very cool. Okay, now closing reflections. What does home mean to you?
Home. Man, that's tough, because I moved so much.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to like be a little spot.
Well, there's a reason why I came back to Kansas City. I came back to Kansas City voluntarily. I lived in Denver, and I like Denver, but I didn't have my people in Denver. In Kansas City, I have my people, and I think home is where my people is. That's a quote, right? Home is where the people is, something like that. And I just have a circle. Like now I'm going to gender reveals. I'm going to baby showers. And I wasn't doing that in Denver. And then when I was living in LA, we weren't old enough to be going to that quite yet. So, but I did have a family there too.
That's crazy. I feel like I had like a wedding shower, like a engagement party, like
No, it's only going to accumulate. Trust me.
it's like, please, guys, stop.
Yeah, it's only going to get more and more and more, and enjoy it, because that's where, you feel that sense of family, you feel that sense of community, and I think it's great. I mean, and my family lives in Texas, so I go there once in a while, but it's too hot in Texas. I can't live if it's too hot.
What do you want people to take away from your story?
Oh, follow your dreams. Is that too cheesy?
No.
I think because my dad followed his dreams,
Yeah.
and now we're here, and I followed my dreams, and now I'm here. And I think if you just don't be scared to take the leap. It's scary, and it's going to be the most uncomfortable time of your life. But then you look back, and either you got the answer you wanted, or it opened up a lot more doors for you. So seek discomfort and just see what's out there, and you never know where it's going to take you.
How can our listeners stay connected with you or follow your work?
Wow. All right, so this is so shameless plug here. Shameless plug time. Okay.
Plug.
Well, I am trying to be a DJ and music producer, so I'm trying to get my name in Kansas City a little bit. My DJ name is Zebra, Zeebruh, so it's like zebra. But also, I don't know, just I'm hoping to kind of make myself a little bit more of a known figure here.
Yeah.
So just look up, Zaldy. Who else is going to be named Zaldy? So I'm hoping people see the name Zaldy out a little bit more, especially with From Home to Here in the eyes of an immigrant. I am an immigrant too, as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And also, I want to gas you up a little bit because I think you're one of the most impressive people I've met. Because obviously, with everything of I have been an immigrant, and then I found out that you're still in college. So to be able to find time to do this, school, social life, and then family life, I don't know how you do it. I could not do it. So mad props to you for putting all this together too.
I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And that's a wrap. We'll catch you at the next one.